Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Health and Finance and Economic Planning briefed the diplomatic corps on the national COVID-19 response and economic recovery plan. The three ministers gave extensive explanations on how the country has continued to deal with the pandemic since the first case was detected in Rwanda back in March 2020. Following that briefing by the cabinet members, we were able to speak to one of the participants in that meeting, Mr. Fode Ndiaye, who is the UN resident coordinator for Rwanda. Take a look.
Mr. Ndiaye, earlier today the diplomatic corps was briefed by three cabinet members on Rwanda's COVID-19 response and the economic recovery plan. What was your take on how the country is handling this global pandemic?
I think, of course, as many countries, Rwanda did face the third wave. But we feel very safe in Rwanda, and the situation is improving. To me, it has to do with a strong political will and leadership, a clear, transparent plan, guided by WHO and other stakeholders on both health, preparedness and response plan, and also a socio-economic recovery plan with economic recovery fund. Measures taken, in my humble view, are scientifically and evidence-based grounded, and are also trying to balance health and economic goals. I also want to commend the discipline of the communities who well informed as respecting the preventive measures. In addition, the most important aspect now is the vaccination rollout, ensuring that no one is left behind. I have to highlight the strong cooperation and partnership with development partners, including UN and other initiatives, be it COVAX with WHO, UNICEF, Gavi and CEPI, and AVAT with the African Union. The strong communication, and you journalists also did play an important role, with the community engagement, including the Sindahoka. And of course, we shall not pull back. Kumeha kumuhetu. There has been also clear guidance adopted throughout all the process, and regular review and, of course, of the progress. And above all, a very strong, high-level management, which is the cabinet and as a coordination mechanism. And I think also the frontline workers' dedication was paramount on all these achievements.
And what about the challenges that Rwanda and indeed other African countries have faced when it comes to vaccines, and how African leaders have taken decisive actions to address those challenges? What sort of support can they expect from the international community?
Yeah, of course, as the minister mentioned, there are challenges because we need to vaccinate 7.8 million people. And as I mentioned earlier, we are having now 900,000. And we need more vaccine, both in kind, with bilateral support, with COVAX, with also the AVAT, as I mentioned. And there, the UN and other development partners are putting their effort for affordable and equitable access to vaccine. And I think it's yielded some results, as the minister did present, because the COVAX supply of vaccine has increased, and we also are receiving more bilateral support. The second aspect that the minister mentioned was the technical expertise in drugs regulatory framework to strengthen the Rwanda Food and Drug Authority and to prepare for vaccine manufacturing. The third is on enhancing the community awareness. It is important that we all know that we'll be out of this pandemic together, both at country level and between countries. That's why I do think that the initiative taken by Rwanda, South Africa and Senegal, trying to manufacture vaccines is an important step. And WHO and other development partners are supporting that move. That is a technical leadership, guidance, advocacy, and of course, on getting more resources. As the Minister of Finance mentioned, they have this economic recovery fund, which is now touching more on the informal sector with the women and youth business-led activities. And it is important that we get more resources. And of course, we commend Rwanda for successfully raising this $620 million from Eurobond that will support that. We thank also other development partners who have provided financial support to this economic recovery plan. And that's a way I think we also need to put together our efforts. At global level, what we are trying to do is the UN Secretary General has led a powerful advocacy on making sure that Africa gets more of the new special drawing rights from the IMF, which is $650 billion US. But we think that Africa could get more of those resources because of the shrinking fiscal space and the necessity to get more resources for social protection, for building forward better, and of course, for having a more resilient system, be it in health, education, and other elements of the recovery. And two last points on the support that I think we need to really put our efforts together is globally we need 11 billion doses really to support the vaccination program. Because we know that it's not about fairness or justice. It is the only way to reduce new variants that will put our job better at risk or more difficult to handle with this pandemic. We also need to support more efforts on the debt and financial management, on transfer of technology, on discussing the patent so that it will be free for the vaccine that would help us have access to more vaccines, as the African Union is toward having 400 million doses that would help increase access to vaccine for African countries. I think that getting the health response plan right, getting the socio-economic response plan right are important ways that development partners can support on. And that's also what UN at global, regional, and national level are supporting through the WHO leadership, support to the Center for Disease Control Africa, and support to building more resilient public health institutions. Because we know we are not out of all these shocks and all this, pandemic and other elements. That's a way we see really ongoing support to Rwanda, both health crisis and, of course, the socio-economic recovery. Now, your question on the lessons, if I may end by that.
Yes, please continue.
I think that what we have learned for this from this pandemic is we are living in a very interconnected, very interdependent world, and there is a necessity of more solidarity. Because what happened in one country could really derail the overall economy. So it is important that we know that we are in this pandemic together and will be out of this pandemic together. We also have learned the importance of inclusion. When society is having excluded population, maybe we might think that we are safe because we are at the level where we have all the purchasing power. But this pandemic has taught us that it's not about money you have. It's about making sure that we are all safe together, that we build back the value chain that will bring back more jobs, more inclusion, more stable, and more peaceful economy. Even it's curing the conflict. We even know that now 120 million more people will be food insecure. In 1 year, it happened because of the disruption of this economic chain and others. I think to end, we need also more global governance, functioning governance that is engaging countries, that is building more strong political will on the general threat against humanity. We are one humanity. Both the climate change, the inequalities, these health issues, the digital divide are important things that we need to tackle together. It is the only way that we could benefit for innovation, technology, youth, community engagement, gender, people with disabilities, and bring it back and better, greener, in a more inclusive manner. This is the only way that we could reach peaceful, stable, and inclusive society. That's the plea that the Secretary General is making, be it at the G7, the G20, at IMF meeting, the World Bank meeting, and all the meetings that we are participating to, bilateral or international. This is the way to go. We are one humanity. Let's face the issues together and build a better humanity for everyone, everywhere. This is my advocacy, and this is the way that I think we should go. Climate will be better tackled. Resilience will be better tackled. And of course, communities will be happier and will take more stance in fighting this COVID and building forward better for better economy and jobs. And frankly speaking, Rwanda is doing well, and we will continue to support the efforts with all the stakeholders, development partners, civil society, private sector. And this is the way to go.
Mr. Fode Ndiaye, UN Resident Coordinator for Rwanda, thank you for taking the time to speak to RTV News.
Thank you so much.